What happened when a talk show host pushed Melania Trump too far? The answer shocked the world. The camera panned across a buzzing live audience in Los Angeles. The set was brightly lit, carrying the unmistakable energy of a popular primetime talk show. Viewers at home were expecting the usual blend of humor and biting political commentary. The host, Alex Brooks, a well-known liberal figure with a reputation for grilling his guests, sat confidently, his polished grin framed by the studio lights. Tonight's show was supposed to be like any other. Alex began, his tone carrying a hint of mischief. We have a very special guest, someone you'd never guess would set foot on this stage. The crowd murmured, curiosity rippling through the room. Then, as if orchestrated for maximum impact, Melania Trump emerged from backstage, dressed in a sleek ivory suit. Her posture exuded elegance and strength. The audience gasped, caught off guard by the unannounced appearance. Some clapped hesitantly, while others exchanged puzzled glances. Even Alex seemed momentarily thrown off, though he quickly masked it with his signature smirk. Melania approached the host's chair with calm confidence. "Thank you for having me," she said, her accent soft but deliberate. The audience's reaction was a mix of intrigue and skepticism, setting the tone for what would become an unforgettable night. The stage was set, but no one, not even Alex, could predict what was about to unfold. The real fireworks began the moment the conversation turned personal. The interview started predictably enough, with Alex maintaining his usual charm. He leaned back in his chair, crossing one leg over the other, and offered Melania a polite smile. "So, Melania, it's been quite a journey for you since your time in the White House. What's life like now?" Melania met his gaze without hesitation. "Life is peaceful," she replied, her voice steady. "I focus on my family, my projects, and helping children through my initiatives." Alex nodded, but his eyes glimmered with a trace of mischief. He wasn't here to offer an easy conversation, and everyone in the audience knew it. Still, Melania's calm demeanor seemed to disarm him, at least for a moment. The crowd listened intently as she spoke about her post-White House work, from supporting underprivileged children to advocating for mental health awareness. "Interesting," Alex said after a pause. "But let's be honest, many people have criticized you for remaining silent on controversial topics during your time as First Lady. How do you respond to that?" The room seemed to hold its breath, anticipating how she would handle the pointed question. Melania, however, remained composed, her hands resting gently on her lap. "I believe actions speak louder than words," she said simply. "It's easy to talk, but harder to make a real difference. I focus on what I can do, not on what others expect me to say." There was a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Alex leaned forward slightly, his expression sharpening. It was clear he intended to push harder. The tension thickened when Alex brought up the topic no one expected her to address. Alex's smirk widened as he tapped his pen against the armrest. "Actions speak louder than words." Interesting philosophy. But don't you think some moments demand words, especially when the stakes are so high? His tone had shifted, carrying a subtle edge, as though he was testing the waters before diving deeper. Melania tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "I believe people have their roles. My role was to support my husband and our country in my own way." Alex raised an eyebrow, and supporting him meant staying silent, even when his actions or words created division. A few gasps rippled through the audience. The question wasn't just bold, it was incendiary. Alex leaned back, folding his arms, clearly waiting for a defensive response. The room buzzed with anticipation, the tension almost palpable. But Melania didn't flinch. Instead, she let the silence linger for a moment, her gaze unwavering. "Division has always existed," she said finally, her voice as calm as ever. "Blaming one person for it is easy, but it doesn't solve the problem. I choose to focus on unity, not blame." The audience murmured in response. Alex seemed momentarily taken aback, but he quickly regrouped. "Fair point," he said, though his usual confidence seemed to falter ever so slightly. For the remainder of the interview, Melania continued to answer each question with poise. her calm strength making it difficult for Alex to land any of his usual cutting remarks. By the time the show ended, the audience wasn't buzzing with laughter or outrage. They were quietly reflective. The mood in the room shifted by her unexpected composure. It was a night no one would soon forget. He conceded but continued. Speaking of unity, there are rumors, controversies, and things people want to hear from you directly. For example, your marriage. The room erupted in a collective gasp. The air felt heavy as the line of questioning veered into deeply personal territory. Melania's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker in her eyes, a spark that suggested she was ready for this. What came next, however, turned the conversation into something no one could have anticipated. Alex leaned in, his voice lowering just enough to make the moment feel intimate yet charged. Let's address the elephant in the room. Melania, many have questioned your choices, your silence during some of the most tumultuous times in recent history, and even your relationship with the former president. Are you here to set the record straight? The audience sat on the edge of their seats, some whispering among themselves. This was the moment they had been waiting for, a confrontation that promised fireworks. Alex's smirk grew, sensing he was about to corner his guest. Melania, however, didn't take the bait. Instead, she straightened her posture, her face calm but commanding. I am here to speak for myself, she said firmly, her accent carrying a subtle sharpness. Not for rumors, not for stories made by people who do not know me. Alex opened his mouth to interrupt, but Melania wasn't finished. Her voice gained momentum, cutting through the air like a razor. Everyone has opinions, she continued, her words deliberate. But opinions are not facts. I know who I am, and I know what I stand for. The rest is just noise. The crowd fell silent, absorbing the weight of her words. Even Alex, the seasoned host known for his quick wit, seemed momentarily at a loss for how to respond. His smirk faltered, replaced by something resembling genuine surprise. Melania's gaze swept the audience. It is easy to judge someone from the outside, she added, but harder to look inside yourself and ask why you feel the need to judge. The room erupted into applause, some rising to their feet. Alex, still recovering, attempted to regain control. Well, he stammered, that's, quite a perspective. But surely you understand why people feel. Melania cut him off with a small, polite smile. I understand more than you think, she said. The applause grew louder. But Alex wasn't done yet, and his next move raised the stakes even higher. Alex leaned forward, his pen now resting forgotten in his hand. His voice took on a sharper tone, one that seemed to dare Melania to falter. You know, Melania, there's something people have always been curious about. How do you reconcile your platform of unity and kindness with some of the more, let's say, controversial statements your husband made? Statements that many say divided the nation. The room fell into an uneasy quiet, all eyes darting between Alex and Melania. It was the kind of question designed to corner someone, to put them on the defensive. The audience braced themselves, expecting either a deflection or an outburst. But Melania, ever composed, didn't miss a beat. She placed her hands gently on her lap, her expression calm yet firm. People see what they want to see, she began. My work has always been focused on helping children, promoting kindness, and showing respect. I cannot control what others say or do, but I can control how I act, and I choose kindness. Alex raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed by what he perceived as a vague response. But surely, he pressed, there were moments when you could have spoken out, taken a stand. Melania's eyes narrowed just slightly. Her voice cut through his interruption. Taking a stand is not always about shouting the loudest, she said. Sometimes it is about staying true to your values, even when it is not popular. The audience broke into applause, some even cheering. Alex, momentarily stunned, seemed unsure how to proceed, but his hesitation was brief. He leaned back, offering a small laugh as though to regain his footing. Fair enough, he said, but let's not ignore the fact that silence can also be seen as complicity. Melania tilted her head, her expression cool but with a glint of something sharper. And words without action, she countered, can be seen as hypocrisy. The room erupted. The energy was electrified as the audience reacted with a mix of shock and admiration. Alex's face shifted. His confidence visibly wavered. This wasn't going as he had planned. But the moment that truly silenced the room was still to come. Alex adjusted his tie, clearly searching for a way to regain control of the conversation. The tension in the room was thick, every word feeling like it carried the weight of the world. Finally, he leaned forward and delivered the question that no one thought he would dare to ask. "Melania," he began, his tone deliberately measured, "do you ever regret marrying Donald Trump?" The audience gasped audibly. Time seemed to freeze as everyone turned to Melania, waiting for her response. Melania's face remained serene, her composure unshaken. She looked directly at Alex, her voice calm yet unwavering. "Regret," she said slowly. "No, marriage is not about perfection. It is about partnership, about standing together through challenges. I have never regretted standing by my husband, just as I have never regretted standing by my principles." The room was silent for a beat before it erupted into applause, louder and more heartfelt than before. For a moment, even Alex seemed humbled, his usual smirk replaced by quiet acknowledgement. What had started as a grilling had turned into a masterclass in grace under pressure. Melania's poise and conviction left a lasting impression, not just on the audience but on everyone watching at home. A collective gasp echoed through the audience. Even the crew behind the cameras seemed stunned, their movements momentarily pausing. The question was not just bold. It was deeply personal. All eyes turned to Melania, waiting for her reaction. For a moment, she didn't respond. She sat still, her expression unreadable. The silence stretched just long enough to make everyone uncomfortable, including Alex. Then she spoke, her voice calm but piercing. "Regret is for those who do not take responsibility for their choices," she said. "I know who I married. I know the life I chose. And I stand by it, not because it is easy, but because it is mine." The audience erupted into applause, louder and more unified than before. Some people stood, clapping with admiration. Alex blinked, his composure cracking for the first time that evening. He opened his mouth to speak, but Melania wasn't done. "We live in a world where it is easy to criticize from the sidelines," she continued, her tone unwavering. "But the truth is, you cannot understand someone's life unless you have lived it. And I do not owe anyone an explanation for my choices." The applause grew deafening, the crowd clearly siding with her. Alex leaned back in his chair, visibly humbled, his earlier bravado nowhere to be seen. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling was even more surprising. As the cameras cut to commercial, the studio audience buzzed with chatter, a mix of awe and disbelief. Melania had not only held her own against Alex's relentless questioning, but she had also turned the tables entirely. The show's producers scrambled behind the scenes, some furiously typing notes, others muttering into headsets about the segment's viral potential. Meanwhile, on stage, Alex leaned over to Melania, his earlier confidence replaced by something more subdued. "I'll admit," he said with a half-smile, "I didn't expect you to handle that so gracefully." Melania regarded him with a polite smile, her tone measured. "I don't play games, Alex. I speak the truth, and that is enough." The comment hung in the air. Alex caught off guard by her sincerity. The once commanding host now seemed almost apologetic. "Fair enough," he muttered, offering a nod of respect. Backstage, staff members and guests whispered as Melania passed by, her presence commanding attention. Some were eager to compliment her composure. Others were simply stunned by her ability to dominate the conversation without raising her voice. She thanked them graciously but didn't linger. As she exited the building, a crowd of reporters and photographers had already gathered outside. Questions flew from all directions. "Melania, do you think Alex went too far? Were you prepared for this interview? Do you have anything else to say?" She paused briefly, turning to face the flashing cameras. "I said what needed to be said," she stated simply. "Nothing more." Then, without another word, she stepped into her car, leaving the crowd buzzing in her wake. By the next morning, Her words had sparked a nationwide debate that no one could ignore. By dawn, clips of the interview had spread like wildfire across social media. Hashtags like hashtag Melania Speaks and hashtag Melania versus Alex were trending worldwide. People on both sides of the political spectrum chimed in, dissecting every word, every gesture, and every nuance of the exchange. Cable news networks replayed the moment on a loop, with pundits arguing over whether Alex had crossed a line or if Melania's responses were a masterclass in grace under pressure. Some called her poised and unshakable. Others claimed she had sidestepped accountability. Regardless of opinion, one fact was undeniable. She had captivated the nation. The debates weren't confined to television. Coffee shop conversations, workplace discussions, and family dinner tables buzzed with questions about the boundaries of professionalism and personal respect in interviews. Could an interviewer truly seek the truth without overstepping? Was it fair to put someone's private life under such scrutiny? Amid the frenzy, Melania issued no further statements. She let her words from the interview speak for themselves, a decision that only fueled the public's fascination. Her silence was not evasive but deliberate, a reminder that sometimes restraint can make the loudest impact. In the weeks that followed, Alex Brooks addressed the interview on his show, acknowledging that he may have underestimated his guest. "I'll say this," he told his audience, "whether you agree with her or not, Melania Trump knows how to command a room." For many, the takeaway from the event was not just about Melania or Alex, but about the broader lesson of handling adversity with dignity. In an age of heated debates and viral soundbites, her composure became a rare example of rising above chaos. As the headlines faded, one thing remained clear. Moments like this remind us of the power of measured words, the strength of self-awareness, and the importance of standing firm in one's truth. Here's the rewritten version of the story conclusion with proper punctuation and adjusted to fit the tone while keeping the original meaning intact. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories that challenge perspectives and inspire meaningful conversations. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, the smallest acts of understanding can create the biggest waves of change. The story teaches us a vital lesson about the power of composure and self-awareness in the face of adversity. In a world filled with noise and confrontation, it's easy to react impulsively or defensively when challenged. However, true strength lies in choosing grace over aggression, understanding over judgment, whether in heated debates or everyday conversations. Let your words reflect wisdom and respect. By staying calm, firm, and true to your values, you can inspire others to rethink their assumptions and lead by example. Remember, dignity and kindness are not signs of weakness. They are profound acts of strength.